Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachade Yamuna Tira Vanachade Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Shri Shri Radha Vandaneshwara ki Jai Angresh Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Iskon Guru Vrinda ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Om Gyanti Mirandasya Ginanjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Velitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutare Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So happy to be back at the Soho Street. See all the devotees, those whom I know and those whom I don't know yet. And thank you for the blessings of your association and opportunity to speak on the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10. Today we're going to read chapter 85, continue with Lord Krishna instructions given to Vasudeva. Today we'll be reading text number 6. Yeah? 6, okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Pranadinam Vishvasrijam Pranadinam Vishvasrijam Shaktayaya Parasyata Shaktayaya Parasyata Paratan Triat Vaishadrishyat Paratantriyat Vaishadrishyat It's even Vaishadrishyat Paratantriyat Vaishadrishyat Dvayosh chestaiva chestatam. Dvayosh chestaiva chestatam. Pranadinam vishvasrijam. Shaktayoya parasyata. Paratantriyat vaisadrishyat. Dvayosh chestaiva chestatam. Anyone wants to risk? Pranadinam vishvasrijam. Shaktayoya parasyata. Ladies, please. Pranam of the life air. Adinam, and so on. Vishva, of the universe. Srijam, the creative factors. Shaktayaha, potencies. Yaha, which. Parasya, belonging to the Supreme. Taha, they. Paratantriyat, because of being dependent. Vaisadrishyat, because of being different. Dvayaha, of both. Living and non-living manifestations in the material world. Chesta, the activity. Eva, merely. Chestatam, of those entities, namely prana and so on, that are active. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Whatever potencies the life, air, and other elements of universal creation exhibit are actually all personal energies of the Supreme Lord, but both life and matter are subordinate to Him and dependent on Him and also different from one another. Thus, everything active in the material world is set into motion by the Supreme Lord. Purport. Prana is the vital air of life, a more subtle element than the ordinary air we can touch. And because prana is so subtle, finer than the tangible manifestation of creation, it is sometimes considered the ultimate source of everything. But even subtle energies such as prana depend for their functional capacity on the supremely subtle Paramatma. That is the idea Vasudeva expresses here by the word paratantriyat, because of dependence. Just as the velocity of an arrow is derived from the strength of the bowman who shoots it, so all subordinate energies depend on the power of the Supreme Lord. Furthermore, even when various subtle causes have been empowered with their capacity to act, they cannot act in concert without the Supersoul's coordinating direction. As Lord Brahma states in his description of creation in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Yadaite sangata bhava bhutendriya manoguna yadayatana nirmanena shekur brahma vittama tada samhatya chanyanyam bhagavachakti chodita sat asatvam upadaya chabhayam sasri churihadam. O Narada, best of the transcendentalists, the forms of the body cannot manifest as long as these created parts, namely the elements, senses, mind, and modes of nature, are not assembled. Thus, when all these become assembled by the force of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this universe certainly came into being by accepting both the primary and secondary causes of creation. Bhagavatam 2.5, texts 32 and 33. One more time, we'll read the text. Pranadinam vishvasijam shaktayoya parasyata paratantriat vaisadrishyat dvayaschestaiva cheshtatam. Whatever potencies the life air and other elements of universal creation exhibit are actually all personal energies of the Supreme Lord. But for life and matter, for both life and matter are subordinate to Him and dependent on Him, and also different from one another. Thus, everything active in the material world is set into motion by the Supreme Lord. So this is Vasudeva glorifying Krishna, and he makes this statement that nothing can neither exist nor even manifest itself without the Supreme Lord, which can be perceived as a very radical statement by modern people because they believe in the theory of Big Bang, right? That something banged somewhere in the universe and there was a big explosion, right? And then the sun started shining, and then all the planets were set in their orbits and they started moving around. And the flowers started to bloom, and trees grew, right, because of the Big Bang. And they say, it may happen like that, it may not happen like that. It's, after all, it's only a theory. So the things could be started in a different way. We don't know exactly, but one thing we know for sure, that it was not started by God. And when you ask them, how do you know for sure? They say, because we have never seen God. Right? And seeing is believing. So we haven't seen God. It's not verifiable, so it's not scientific. But Srila Prabhupada was saying that Krishna consciousness is very scientific. Why? We're talking about science because Vasudev speaks here in a very scientific way, right? He's the supreme scientist. He created, well, we can say he created the Supreme Lord, at least. The body of Krishna came from Vasudev, right? Externally he became the cause of the Supreme Lord appearing in this world. So if someone can cause the Supreme Lord appear, so this is a very high level of science, spiritual science. So science is consisting of three parts. What are the three parts of science? Theory, then experiment and result. And so our process of Krishna consciousness is consisting of three stages also, which are Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana. So what is Sambandha? Theoretical understanding, we can say theory, okay. The theory is that there is God. Maybe there is God, let us check and see. Then what is Abhideya? Yeah, let's put an experiment. Experiment with our lives. And what is Prayojana? Yeah. We can see that whatever scriptures say, whatever the sages and saints say, it's all true, right? Whatever the results are promised, we can see those manifest in our lives. So that's why Srila Prabhupada said it's very scientific. It's not just sentimental, religious process, kind of sentimental faith. Someone told you that God is there, so you believed. And then someone else came along and he said, no, God is not there, so you dropped your belief. No, it's not like that. Unfortunately, there are many people like that in the world, but they believe in God out of sentiment, but then if something wrong happens in their life, if like their pet animal dies or something like that, they say, this is unbelievable injustice on the part of God. If there would be God, then my pet cat would not die. So it's the proof that God is not there, because he was not looking after my pet cat properly, right? Because this is God's business, right? Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai Shri Shri Radha Ishvara Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. So but Krishna consciousness is not like that. It's not that we believe in God in the same way as many people believe in God, as most people believe in God. What kind of belief most people have? It's very simple. That I come to God because I couldn't sort out my life, right? I couldn't get it together in the first place. I messed my life up. So, and I was looking for someone to, sort it all out, right? And, I couldn't take care of myself. I couldn't provide my own bread. So I came to God as a bread supplier, right? So this is, in Bhagavatam, it's called Kaitava Dharma, cheating religion. I am placing the orders and God is supplying my orders, right? This is Kaitava Dharma. And then if order is not supplied, then I don't need such God. I'll look for the other God, right? Like Prabhupada was saying, this is how communists were cheating people. They were coming to the village and they were saying, you're praying to God for bread, but is He providing, is He supplying you the bread? Do the loaves of bread fall from the sky after your prayer? They say, no, we never seen like bread, loaves of bread falling from the sky. And then they said, yeah, what's the use of praying to God for bread? Better pray to us. And these villagers, because they were like very naive people, they started praying, dear, my dear Lord, comrade communist, please give us our daily bread. And then comrade communist shoots his revolver, and here comes a big truck full of loaves of bread. And he says, okay, you see, your prayer is answered immediately. So who is better? Your God or me? And these, naive and foolish villagers, they say, oh yeah, you are much better than God. He haven't provided, truckload of loaves of bread like you. So therefore, we'll believe in you. But then Prabhupada said, if these villagers would be a little bit smarter, they would immediately ask the question, good question, where have you taken all this bread? You've stolen it from God. And now you claim it's yours, you provided it. But because these people, they never had the knowledge in the first place, therefore, their faith was very sentimental, and sentimental faith leads to materialism. In the same way as fanatical faith leads to materialism, so sentimental faith leads to materialism as well. And what's the only solution? Spiritual knowledge. And this is why we come together every morning to read and discuss and try to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, because it gives us scientific knowledge. It helps us to understand that Krishna consciousness is a spiritual science beyond, sentiments, which is proven by the lives of the devotees. Like one of the favorite quotes from my Guru Maharaj is that the devotees are living proof of the existence of God. You want to see the proof? There are so many proofs. There are so many devotees who prove with their own lives that yes, God does exist. And as they say, that atheist is the one who doesn't have an invisible support. So yeah. And it's very interesting what this verse is saying, particularly because Vasudeva explains that starting from prana, life, air, and other elements of the universal creation are personal energies of the Supreme Lord. And so the prana is the most subtle of the elements. Normally when we say life air, we used to think that air is something you can feel. You can't see the air, but you can feel the air, right? If you wave your hand, you can feel the air is there. But here it is explained, Prabhupada disciples are explaining all these points in purport on the basis of the explanations given by previous acharyas, specifically Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladev Vidyabhushan, Sridhar Swami and others. And so it's explained that prana is not that kind of air you can feel, it's very subtle. For example, in Ayurvedic science, it's a medical science, it's explained that if prana is disturbed in a body, the first symptom of that would be mental problems, right? There are 10 kinds of airs, 10 kinds of pranas circulating in the body. Of course, some airs are obvious, like we're breathing in and out, etc. So few types of pranas are actually, like we can say the gross element of air coming in and out of the body. But these are not the only types of pranas. There are more and more subtle types of pranas. Actually, prana in itself is very subtle, but it can operate on the basis of the air. It does operate on the basis of the air. And so when prana is disturbed, then one will be mentally disturbed. And it's very interesting that somehow air circulation in the body is connected to our mental state, right? For example, if someone is morose and depressed and not interested in life, right? What's the physical kind of manifestation of that state? One is bent down and head is low, right? So this is how the person will look like. Yeah. But and then the mind is full of so many disturbing thoughts, right? But then if you sit up straight, we can make an experiment. If everyone can sit up very straight and look up, and this is just to increase your lungs capacity, and then breathe in and withhold your breath, and now breathe out. Breathe in again, withhold your breath, and breathe out again. Yeah. Can you feel the difference in your mental state? Yeah. How many of you can feel the difference? Okay. So this is how it works. Yeah. The circulation of air is also affecting your mental state, even though it doesn't mean that air is going into your brain or something like that. But all the energies in the body are connected. And this is how it works. And here in the purport, it is explained that even subtle energies such as prana depend for their functional capacity on the supremely subtle Paramatma. So prana is the most subtle element. Material elements, living entity operates, we can say. But even more subtle than prana is Paramatma, the Supreme Lord. And Paramatma is allowing pranas, all these vital airs to circulate within the body. And everything depends on that. For example, like we move our limbs and even, every function. I mean, in this body there are so many functions, right? hundreds of functions operating at the same time. And we don't even know what these functions are. We have no idea. This is like really simple proof that God does exist. This was my little experience here in London. I came across one man on book distribution who seemed to be very well educated and looked like some kind of university professor or somebody. And then that man challenged me. I tried to offer him a book, but then he said, how come that you are modern, young man, and you still believe in God? As if this is something, only some ignorant village is supposed to do. He said, this is very surprising. And I told him, no, this is not really surprising. The real surprise is that such a well-educated, man as yourself does not believe in God. And he was a bit disturbed by that comment, and he said, I don't believe in God because there are no proofs of the existence of God. I said, there are so many proofs of the existence of God, and there is not even one proof of non-existence of God. And he took the challenge. He said, well, if there is a proof of existence of God, give me the proof. And he wanted to obviously argue and refute it, etc. And, I could see it through, and so I didn't want to entertain him this way. And I challenged him back. I said, I won't even bother giving you any proofs. I'll just ask you one question, and if you answer it, you'll get this proof for yourself. He was a bit surprised. He said, okay, what is the question? I said, it's very simple. Who is operating your body? And he got stuck with the answer. Because he was a smart man. He didn't want to foolishly say, I'm operating my body. Because then I could point out to at least 108 functions which he's not even aware of in his body, right? Or, say, okay, if you operate your body, just for me, could you please stop blinking for 3 minutes or so, right? Or stop your heart beating for a minute, or whatever, There are so many. Or can you stop your nails from growing? Can you, grow your hair back? Etc., etc., right? There are so many things. So he was smart enough not to say, I am operating this body, I'm operating my body. But he knew if he will say, I'm not operating my body, then, I'll ask him a few more questions, and he already could see where the questions will lead him to. And he didn't want to, face that answer. And he kind of felt that, with this question I kind of cornered him, and he became disturbed. I was actually, quite angry, but, because he was kind of, cultured and educated man, he expressed his anger in a particular way. He said, young man, you offended my intelligence. And then he turned around and walked away. So what does it mean to offend the intelligence? I'm still trying to understand, but anyway. But these people are so foolish. They know better than us in the heart of hearts that God is there, but they just want to pretend that they don't know, right? And so I had few experiences with them, Once you corner them, they try to put these arguments, this and that, but once you corner them, or even start joking with them, they become really angry. Like some of them, they say, that their popular thing is that your belief, your religion is what they call it, woo or something, huh? Not voodoo, but something which is very sentimental and has no scientific basis, kind of made up thing. And any modern man following the modern science would never believe in God, because no scientist believes in God, right? It's only the feature of people with poor fund of knowledge, right? And then you say, what about, Max Planck? What about Einstein? What about Newton? Were they not scientists? Am I making mistake? These names, they don't belong to scientists, and then you keep giving them the names. And then actually, it's a fact of life that the greatest scientists in the history of the planet all believed in God, right? In their own way. They, recognize that there is a supreme power behind everything, from whom or from which, we can say, everything comes from. There is a unifying source. And so, but when you put this argument in front of them, they become really angry and irritated, because, they don't want to accept defeat, but, they ran out of arguments. So, but this is the problem in the modern world, that some people are materialistic and atheistic, and they don't want to have nothing to do with anything spiritual in their lives. And the other part of people, they have mundane religious understanding, which is very sentimental and can be very easily wiped away, right? And replaced with materialism. This is why spiritual knowledge is so important. And we can see right in the Bhagavatam how powerful the application of this knowledge in life is. That especially in connection to the life air, prana, and controlling life air through spiritual practices. The example of Dhruva Maharaj comes to mind, right? That if you read the story, you would remember that Dhruva Maharaj, he was, as per instructions of his spiritual master, Narad Muni, he was performing austerities to connect with the Supreme Lord, and the final austerity was that he stopped breathing, right? And when he stopped breathing, the entire universe started choking up, right? No one in the universe could breathe. And all the demigods, they were like dying for air, and they ran to Brahma and they said, we cannot breathe, can you please figure out what's going on? And then Brahma realized it's Dhruva Maharaj who is performing austerities, and then he went to the Supreme Lord, because Dhruva Maharaj was, he couldn't be stopped. He was so powerful, even Lord Brahma couldn't stop him on his own. And then Lord Brahma came to the Supreme Lord and he said, please, help us again. We're all choking because of this little boy. He stopped breathing, so none of us can breathe now. And, he wants to see you, please, could you come down and see him and, tell him to stop that, otherwise we'll be finished, right? So by his spiritual practices, Narad Muni, he's so smart, right? He gave him the spiritual practice by the result of which he, put such a pressure on the entire universe that, Lord Vishnu had to appear just to save everybody from Dhruva Maharaj. Even though it was not Dhruva Maharaj's intention. But this is how it was, right? And we may say, oh, these are the stories from the past, etc., etc. But then we can see contemporary examples, how powerful devotees can become if they dutifully follow the instructions of the spiritual master, and they serve Srila Prabhupada and Vaishnavas, right? There are so many examples that their devotional service literally becomes breathtaking, right? That when they do something for Krishna, people just stop breathing in amazement when they see their devotional service. Like one example, or even when they see them, right? They become so shaken. Like one example from here, right, from London, when Srila Prabhupada was doing his morning walk, when he stayed at a burial place apparently, and then he was taking his early morning walk, and even today, like early in the morning, like after 5 o'clock, you can hardly see anyone on the street, right? It's pretty much empty. And so Srila Prabhupada and his disciples were walking along the street, and then a policeman who was standing at the street corner, he saw Srila Prabhupada and he ran up to Shyamasundar Prabhu. And he said, "Who is this man, this elderly man?" And Shyamasundar Prabhu said, "Well, he is my spiritual master." And then the policeman said, "It's amazing. He's glowing like a sun." So even, apparently ordinary man, he could recognize the greatness of Srila Prabhupada. And I've seen this happening in other instances as well. Like one of our contemporary spiritual masters was leading Harinam, and then there were 2 boys, and they were kind of, making snide remarks, looking at the devotees and etc., and kind of laughing at the devotees. But then this Prabhupada disciple passed by, and they just looked at him, and they just kept silent, and they were just looking at him in amazement. And that was it. Just by seeing exalted Vaishnava, even seeing exalted Vaishnava, that changes one's mindset. Anyone had this experience that you see an exalted Vaishnava and you feel the change in your consciousness, right? Yeah, so it's breathtaking. What to speak of the services they perform? Even, looking through the list of Srila Prabhupada's achievements in the last 12 years of his life, it's unbelievable. If that would not be contemporary, if that would happen like few hundreds or thousands of years back, honestly, if I would read these things, I would say, no, it's a fairy tale, it's not possible, right? Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whose disappearance day we've celebrated yesterday, he wrote 100 books, together with raising 11 children, right? Grihastas can appreciate that challenge, and having very responsible job, and doing so many other things, and organizing more than 500 Namahata and or Bhakti Vriksha groups in his lifetime, right? So, and for example, when I I see this piece of statistics connected to Srila Prabhupada, just one piece of statistics, that in 12 years' time he opened 108 temples. I mean, if you haven't ever tried to open a temple or construct a temple, you would never understand what it means. Because I've tried, I had the experience. And I was young and naive, and I was thinking, oh, it's going to be easy. And I thought it will take maybe 1 or 2 years. No, it was very, very hard, and it took 10 years for one temple, right? And I was not 70, I'm still not 70, even though I may look like. But yeah, when I learned that Srila Prabhupada, after 70, he opened 108 temples, and huge temples too. Anyone who had experience of traveling around and seeing what kind of temples Srila Prabhupada built or opened would know what we're talking about. So this is impossible, this is amazing. And we can see that Srila Prabhupada empowered his disciples to also do the breathtaking service, right? For example, Ambarish Prabhu, he is constructing such a huge, biggest temple on the planet, right? And so it's not just, any temple, it's a very high quality building, top quality also. I was really amazed when in the beginning I saw the what do you call it, the metal they use. It's actually stainless steel. The type they use for the skyscrapers, and the kind of cement they use for concrete work is very unusual too. Because Ambarish Prabhu said, we want the best quality cement because we want this building to stand for a long time. And then they went to the best provider and they said, what is the topmost quality cement you can give us? And they said, oh, this is very nice quality cement. We can give you 50 years guarantee that anything done with this cement will stay. And devotees came back, they were thinking Ambarish Prabhu will be happy. He said, 50 years, what are they talking about? We are building this building for 10,000 years, right? Because this is the duration of the golden age. So, let them give us 10,000 years guarantee rather than 50 years. And they came back to these people and they said, what Ambarish Prabhu told them. And they were like scratching their heads. You know how it is in India. And they said, okay, we'll try to come up with a different formula. Give us a little time. And then after a while they told the devotees, we're really sorry. We could only come up with a formula in which we can give you only 300 years guarantee. And, more than that is not possible. We cannot guarantee. And then the devotees came to Ambarish Prabhu. He said, okay, what can we do? We can take 300 years guarantee. I was thinking these people were very honest too, because, 300 years guarantee, who will live that long to check if it is real or not? But this, it just shows that it's really the best quality temple also, even though it's so big. And so we see so many Prabhupada disciples are actually empowered by his association and by serving him to do a an absolutely amazing, wonderful, breathtaking service. And Srila Prabhupada was also saying that this option is open to all of us. We can do the same thing. Let's see how many of you would like to surprise the world with your absolutely wonderful, amazing, breathtaking service to Krishna. Anyone? Not everyone, but few. This is good. And Srila Prabhupada said, all of my followers have to be like me. This option is open for all of us. That if we follow in Srila Prabhupada's footsteps, and if we serve him and serve his servants, we can also do amazing things for Krishna. And this should be our aspiration. Because if we do wonderful things for Krishna, we can inspire others, and we can stay inspired in Krishna consciousness. Not for, prestige or recognition, but to help so many other people to take interest in Krishna consciousness. Like with this huge temple. Pretty sure that once it is up, there will be so many people coming, not for any religious or spiritual reasons, but just to see one of the wonders of the world, right? So, and this is how, because Krishna is wonderful, Krishna is all attractive, and if we are engaged in full capacity devotional service, our devotional service can also become very wonderful and very attractive as well. Alright, so thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I wish you all the best with the following Purushottam month and increasing your devotional service in this month. One of the things which anyone could do is to increase your chanting. That will be the most important part, most important vrata for us in this month. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Very nice. Okay. We will read some Sankirtan scores from yesterday. Okay, like this. Okay, we have some 2-day scores because yesterday we did not read. We didn't read yesterday's course, so I will read 2-day score for Bookshop and Govindas. Yesterday, Closet Krishna collected 122 Lakshmi points, distributed 5 medium books and 2 Mahabig books. It was actually 15th of June. Hare Krishna. And then the other day, so scores for Radha's Boutique. So 15th of June, 5 books, 165 Lakshmi points. And yesterday, 6 books, 290 Lakshmi points. Haribol. And Govinda's Restaurant, the other day, 2,304.20 Lakshmi points, 292 transactions. Haribol. And yesterday, 287 minimum transactions or people served. For a total of 2,270.82 Lakshmi points. Haribol. And yesterday we have 5 scores submitted on Sankirtan, starting with Bhakti and Subhadra. So 7 Lakshmi points, 7 medium books, 3.5 book points. Hare Krishna. Krishna Mai Devi Dasi, 10 Lakshmi points, 2 medium books, 2 Maha big books, 5 book points. Prabhupada Priya Devi Dasi, 14 Lakshmi points, 15 medium books, 7.5 book points. Bhaktavayu, 33 Lakshmi points, 19 medium books, 3 Maha big books, 15.5 book points. And finally Bhakta Rajesh, 44 Lakshmi points, 22 medium books, 5 Maha big books, 21 book point. All together, believe or not, 5 scores, 108 Lakshmi points. It's very nice. 65 medium books, 10 Maha big books. All together 52.5 book points. Yeah? Thank you very much. Haribol. Okay, before we say a prayer for the lordships for new temple, just I will ask on ladies' side who would love to help serving breakfast prasadam. Okay, thank you. And on men's side, and as well we need few people to help, few devotees to help cleaning afterwards. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, we will say a prayer. Dear Shri Shri Radha Londonishvara, Jagannath Baladev and Subhadra, Shri Shri Gornitai and Giri Govardhan, we offer our most respectful obeisances unto you. In a mood of deep gratitude and appreciation, we request your causeless mercy upon us. For your pleasure, if you so desire, we wish to erect a holy place of your transcendental pastimes that will attract unlimited souls to your service and fulfill the vision of your pure devotee Srila Prabhupada for London. Please enable us to cooperate together in order to satisfy you in this way.